We'll call to order a meeting of the Wilsonville City Council on October 2nd at 7 p.m. And I will ask our city recorder to call the roll, please.
Member Barry.
Present.
Councilor Barry.
Present.
Transition.
Councilor Linville.
Here.
Mayor Fitzgerald.
Here.
And Councilor Dunwell and Ockervall are excused.
Thank you. Will everyone please join us in standing and giving the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And here comes Council President Ockervall. So just for the record, she is here now, just had an earlier engagement. Welcome.
Thank you.
And do I have a motion, Councilor Linville, to approve the following order of the agenda?
Your Honor, I move to approve the following order of agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0. We'll now go to mayor's business, and I wanted to call our attention, lots of things in the Boones Ferry Messenger. Thanks to our staff for all of their time putting, this is like the most dense publication that I think I've ever seen, how much is in this. Lots of things coming up, and I was looking at the back page with the calendar. On October 7th is Bulky Waste Day from 9 to 1. We always have lots of requests from our public to remind them of that. And I think we'll hear a little bit more about what that is from Councilor Barry under Councilor comments. On Friday, October 13th, a lucky day, is going to be the grand opening of what we are calling Story Walk in one of our parks, and that is in a park in Villebois along Coffee Lake Drive. Brian, do you have any report on that on city manager business, or do you want me to talk about it?
You can go ahead. Yeah.
Well, it's basically, it was an allocation made by the Community Enhancement Grants project, really a collaboration with the library and the Library Foundation. I believe there are something like 24 built-in stands that will hold pages of children's books, and they will be able to rotate out throughout, certain times of the year. It's a way to bring reading, literacy, and all of the wonderful things about that into walks. And some of the other, I know West Lynn has one of these story walks, and maybe some other cities around. So that will be, Friday the 13th will be a grand opening for the story walk. On Saturday the 21st is our Fall Harvest Festival, which it starts at 10 a.m. at the Stein Boozer Barn, and on Saturday, October 28th, is when after you have taken your things to Bulky Waste Day on October 7th, you can bring your excess papers to Paper Shredding Day, and that's here in the City Hall parking lot from 9 to 2. We also have our Emergency Preparedness Fair from 10 a.m. to noon at the Stein Boozer Barn. Hope to see our city councilors there, lots of people from different groups and neighborhoods across the city to learn about ways each person, family, and neighborhoods can take steps to get prepared for emergencies. I do have two proclamations in our packet today. I'm not going to read them out loud so that we can keep moving, but I would like to call your attention to them. They're in the packet. One is for Dyslexia Awareness Month. October is Dyslexia Awareness Month, and this is very important to our relationship with all of the members in our community and also our schools. And October is also Community Planning Month. There is a proclamation in our packet for Community Planning Month, and I'm sure that things go in waves, but this last year of the legislature, our community planners have been busier than ever standing up for the role of residents and cities on how they want their communities to look. And so I really think this is a timely to have Community Planning Month happen just as the legislature is planning their next session. One thing I didn't mention at the last meeting is that I did attend an event that Clackamas County put on that they called their Addiction Summit. And they had spent quite a bit of time planning that and brought people in from several different jurisdictions, and the county staff had put a lot of time into this. And it was really a look at, for those people who are suffering from addictions in our community, what can our county do to help them with that? And we certainly do rely on our county for those services, and I'm really impressed with the amount of effort they're putting into this, looking at different type of clinic and recovery methods to help with that problem. And I will send the counselors the materials. I just got the materials that they shared with us at that meeting electronically. And I think you might be hearing about some of that work from Counselor Linville later too, related to the opioid settlement project that she works on. Our next city council meeting is scheduled for Monday, October 16th, starting at 7 p.m. I think I might have missed some of my exciting notes that I was telling you about the meetings I'm going to go to, but you can hear about them next time. Oh, this week we do have the C4 meeting coming up, which is the meetings of all of the cities in Clackamas County. We get together and talk about common issues. We're also having a dinner coming up soon, hosted by Gladstone. And these are chances for the different city councilors and mayors to get to know each other and talk about common challenges where they can hopefully do more together than apart. We're now, I don't believe we have any communication items scheduled for tonight. And that brings us to our community input, citizen input and community announcements. And we do have 2 speaker cards, and so I will read this segment that tells us that community input and citizen input and community announcements is an opportunity for visitors to address the city council on items not on the agenda. It's also the time to address items that are on the agenda but are not scheduled for a public hearing. Staff and the city council make every effort to respond to questions raised during citizens' input before tonight's meeting ends, or as quickly as possible thereafter if other research is needed in order to answer. So please limit your comments to 3 minutes. You can use the raise hand feature of Zoom to let us know if you'd like to provide comments. And before I start, do we have anyone waiting on Zoom? All right, I would like to start with Mike Thompson, who's been patiently waiting. And I have your address on file.
My name is Mike Thompson. My wife and I moved here in 1985 when we had a house built on 11259 Southwest Chantilly. If I would have decided to fill out all the questions I wanted, I would have used all your cards, but I'll be kind and probably just fill one out every time. The one that really strikes me as really kind of urgent is on Willamette Way East, which runs on the east side of Fox Chase and not Maury's Landing, but River Green. Mm-hmm. They put a sidewalk in there as a crosswalk for the students and to get to school and for the people who live there. I have a friend who involved in baseball, has a radar gun, and one day out of curiosity, I sat there for an afternoon and I was amazed at how many cars go through there at about 40 miles an hour. So I would like to suggest a possibility of at the top of that road and towards the bottom where it turns off into River Green and Maury's Landing, that there should be a couple speed bumps in there because people go through there way too fast. I'm just afraid one of these days somebody young child is going to get run over. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike, for bringing that to our attention. Just checking with our city manager in this kind of, with this kind of comment, so you'll talk with our police chief and,
Well, we have a traffic safety team that's multidisciplinary, so I will say we don't do speed bumps in this community for a variety of reasons, but we try to start off with data, so we can put a speed trailer out there and we can catch what the average speeds are. We can do it during the week and on the weekends and during the morning and at night, so we can collect plenty of data there. And then if we need some enforcement, we can have police folks out there running traffic enforcement. And then the last step would be engineering, if it's something that we deem is serious enough that we could look at some engineering solutions. But we'll start with the traffic safety team, and since we have your contact information, we can let you know once we've convened that team and had a discussion about it. We'll keep you in the loop. Get.
all right, thank you. Our next speaker is John Vandenberg, and I do have your address on file too.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and council members. So I'm addressing the part of the city mission of preserving natural environment. And so you've probably looked over at Wilsonville with Google Maps or other maps, and if you look at the satellite image, so I was doing that in Villebois, and I would say I was looking for solar panels, and I'd say 1 out of 50, maybe 1 out of 40, 1 out of 50 roughly have solar panels on the roofs. And then I look at commercial buildings, moving east, and I didn't see any solar panels at all. And then I look at city buildings, City Hall, police station, library, at least from a satellite view, I didn't see anything there. And then I'm looking for the extent to which pavement is dark versus light. They have technology to have lighter pavement, and it doesn't look like Wilsonville's gone there yet. So if you just take a satellite view, it's not very friendly from a standpoint of absorption of solar. And then from a standpoint of lawn, City Hall has grass, doesn't help the birds there, doesn't help pollinators there. The library is good, it has trees and whatnot. And then if you zoom out on Google satellite, you wouldn't think that Wilsonville was a city of trees. You would think Wilsonville is a city of few trees. So basically the question would be, and then I also looked at the packet on the solid waste that's later on the agenda, and there I saw that that the city rightly was trying to catch up with some requirements of Metro, was looking to see what other community has done, but I didn't see anything there in an incomplete review that said that, oh, the city is looking for opportunities to sort of help the environment in this solid waste area. So sort of the question is, does the staff and the city have like a system in place where whatever you're doing, any decisions you're making, managing of the city, where I would put it, are you thinking about the birds, the bees and the beavers, wildlife, pollinators, et cetera? Because zooming way out on Google Maps, it doesn't seem like that's the case.
Well, thank you.
But also thank you for your service, if I didn't say that at the first part.
Thank you, John, for your for your comments, and I think you bring up just a couple things I was going to add. We do have a strategy. One of our goals that we just adopted, which I think you referred to, was protect and preserve Wilsonville's environment. And so we had a strategy under that, which is develop a climate inventory and gap analysis of city practices and operations. So that might be a good start right there. And then the second related strategy was conduct a community education campaign to build awareness of climate-friendly practices. There is a climate strategy that Clackamas County has, and we decided we wanted to do more. Now there's lots of other things that we could talk about related, for example, with our Parks Department. You want to talk a little bit about that, Brian, or?
Well, it's hard to respond without knowing.
It's a long list.
Without knowing what your standard is. I can tell you we have a lot of trees. We have 800 red oaks in Charbonneau alone that line the French Parade Drive. We're very protective of trees. We have gone above and beyond what Metro requires for protection of riparian areas and what you can and can't do in those natural areas. So it would just be hard to say without knowing kind of what your expectations would be. But we do a lot. There's a lot more we can do. We are a Bee City USA and a
We
Tree
do have a
City
certain
USA.
practice, I'm not trying to be defensive, I'm trying to look, but in terms of what this strategy is, which is develop a climate inventory and gap analysis, I think that is what we're looking at, and we'll begin to do this. We also have some, climate friendly, I can't think of the name of the energy membership that we encourage.
Well, it's
we're part of the-
PGE.
Yeah, we're part of the PGE, that we're going to have 100% of our power that's going to be basically 100% renewable with the project we participated in. We're also part of the Green Power Initiative through PGE, where we encourage local residents and the city to use green power. So there's a lot that goes under this umbrella. So it's just...
So I think this is further, encouragement to get going on the gap analysis and just continue to do better.
There's always more we can do, for sure.
If I could add 5 seconds, I might go beyond my 3.
But you still have the time, yeah.
Okay, just the suggestion that there may be members of the staff who have some sort of hidden, or not hidden, but unknown expertise or knowledge or interest in certain particular issues, such as pollinators and whatnot, light pollution, noise pollution. There may be people that you haven't, know about, so there may be some effort there to, say, hey, does anybody have special expertise in this area? And you might benefit from that. But again, thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Thank you, John.
And wasn't certainly criticizing, just
No.
more could be done.
It's just it's a big universe out there of things that we could
But
be doing.
thank you
Thank you for coming.
giving us a chance to talk about our gap analysis that's on our list, so,
Lots
all
to
right.
do.
Very important to our community. That brings us to the counselor comments, liaison reports, and meeting announcements, starting with Council President Ockervall.
Thank you. I have 2 items that I can report on, and one of them is last Monday, I attended the Clackamas County Child Care for All group retreat. And this is a group that is looking at the issue of childcare countywide in Clackamas County. And they held a retreat this group's been in formation, I guess, for about 2 years now, or coming up to 2 years. But is still young in solidifying what exactly are the goals and the tactics that will be taken to try and move the needle, I guess. It's a really complex issue. So they have done a report, kind of really looking at the state of childcare within Clackamas County and identifying some of the problems. And this retreat looked at what are some actions or some goals that could be focused on in the next about 2 to 3 years. And did not come out of the retreat with like a polished list of what those goals are, but definitely had some good conversation and got quite a ways in developing a foundation for that polished list, I guess, which they're ticking away at. So I was glad to be part of that. And
Before you leave that,
Yeah.
I've been enjoying walking by 2 new early childhood education, maybe child care organizations, and it's so exciting to see them in our community. The Montessori school in Villebois that expanded, and then the new facility over right across the street here.
exactly in the previous YMCA building.
Yes.
So we lost a child care provider in the city, and then the new child care provider that went into that space is still a child care provider. So that is a good thing, to continue to have those slots available to our community members. But looking at how we can stabilize childcare as a whole, because it is really kind of a critical point where there are child care facilities that are finding they need to close their doors because it's a difficult business to be in. It is also a difficult situation for families to be in, right? So everyone's kind of hurting on this and trying to find some areas that will bring relief. So that was this last Monday, and that work will continue. I also attended on Friday. It was quite enjoyable. I attended a performance that was done by the Daejeon Metropolitan Dance Theater. And this is a traditional dance and also modern dance group from Korea. And the general, or the consulate general of the Republic of Korea that's in Seattle hosted this event, and a number of guests, and also it was open to the broad community as well to come and experience this. And she made some really terrific comments, I think, about how earlier in her career, there was oftentimes association with Americans and Korea. These association points centered around the war and maybe industry. But she has recently seen the understanding of the Republic of Korea really expand to food and art and culture, and this was an example of that. And so, of course, we have the Korean War Memorial here in our town center park, and so we will always have that connection, I think, based on the war, but broadening our understanding of this country is really important. And so I was very glad to be able to attend that event, and it was just really amazing. It was a terrific thing. So that is what this last week has held for me. And I also, along with the mayor, was able to do a presentation at Lowry Primary for their first grade students about community helpers. It was a bit of a kind of a career survey of different community helping centered careers that could be found in our city. And the mayor and I presented a little about what we do here on council. And we asked them also to give some feedback, which the mayor, I believe, will be sharing with staff and the rest of the council about currently on the Let's Talk Wilsonville website, there is a survey where people can go and vote for their most favorite trees that we should be including in our future arboretum that's going to be in Memorial Park, I believe, right? So they enjoyed voting on these trees, and I'm thinking it was it was very close between the Norwegian maple and the Japanese umbrella pine. Is that correct? So they had some opinions to share. It really was. It's hard to tell with all of these little arms, going up and down and moving around.
They have expensive taste.
Well, excellent taste. So, but also an example of the importance of giving feedback, and that they have a role to play in the community as well. So they gave us some feedback on those trees.
Thank you. Councilor Linville.
Yes, thank you. I'm just going to do a quick follow-up, I think, on the comments that the mayor made about the addiction summit that was put on by the county commission. And that was specifically, I think it was arranged by Commissioner West. And as just a follow-up to that, I received a request to consider serving on the advisory committee that will come out of that addiction summit. And it will be advisory. I think it's going to be chaired by Commissioner West, and it will report to the county. So I'll keep the council posted on that, and as it's still a little in the planning stage. So On the 21st of September, I attended the GPI Annual Summit. Our Director of Economic Development was also there, Matt Lorenzen, and we were invited to sit at the table, the PGE table. So I had an opportunity to have some great conversation with the folks from PGE, and we were talking specifically about the partnership that is a potential partnership between PGE, Clackamas Community College, and the city of Wilsonville. And there were several of the leadership team that was there that were really quite interested and hoping to consider that, or continue that conversation about maybe workforce development training opportunities that would maybe meet some of their needs as well as other industry needs. And then on the 28th, I participated in the Greater Portland, Inc. Small City Consortium meeting. It was not well attended, but it was interesting, and there were two real items that kind of came out of that meeting. One is a presentation that was done by a representative from the Oregon Employment Department about their website and the data that is available on the data tools that are available to, and I made myself some notes so that I could share those with you. I think our council president, Ackerval, who is our data guru, would really be interested, but there's quality employment statistics, there's data by region, by job title, by county, and all the way down to cities, looking at occupation and wage information and cities over years and job vacancies. And we can actually drill down. I would imagine Matt is doing some of that and using that, but it might be kind of fun to play around a little bit with that data site to take a look for us. And that really brought up a discussion among the participants in that Small Cities Consortium about the number of, and there was a representative from Metro, from GPI Metro, and the point that was being brought up by representatives from Sandy, Cornelius, Sherwood, and Wilsonville is the number of our citizens who live in our cities but do not work in our cities. And that number is very small, and, you know, compared to our populations, the majority of our people move. So it gave me an opportunity to, while I didn't have those numbers right off at the top of my head, but I shared the concern, but it also gave me an opportunity to introduce those small city consortium members to think about the West to Salem opportunity, because we know that in the morning, there's lots of traffic, and the evening, both ways, on I-5 going through Wilsonville, and we know that it's many of those smaller communities whose citizens are working in places other than the cities in which they live. So I encourage them to have the conversations with their legislators, as well as for them to really look for and help us support that West to Salem discussion. I also I will attend on the 4th of October, which is this week, I think, Wednesday, the Opioid Settlement Prevention, Treatment, and Recovery Board. We just got our agenda. The meeting that we had at the last meeting was really to do some zeroing in on really values and statements and where we're hoping to go. What will be discussed at this next meeting are models of implementation and really kind of zeroing in on how can we use the resources that we have to support models in the state of Oregon. And given that this is really a hot topic, it's being discussed in Portland, and it's in Clackamas County, and Washington County, and they're all talking about how can we take this addiction money and use it, and how do we best provide those resources to our citizens. And I always like to go back and remember that the money that the state is getting through the opioid settlements was really through the questionable actions of Big Pharma and what they did with OxyContin specifically in promoting that drug specifically for the financial benefits of their companies, and misrepresenting what the addiction value was of those drugs, and the number of people who were looking at chronic pain, short-term pain relief from surgeries that got addicted to that drug simply because of the marketing strategies that were used by those pharmaceutical companies. So when I think about where that money is and where it needs to go, sometimes we think it's to go to fentanyl treatment, we think it's to go to other kinds of drug addiction. We have a whole population of people that got in trouble as a result of what was done by those pharmaceutical companies. And so I'm trying to keep that focus, especially for our community. And then and remember that my position on there is to represent small cities, the medium-sized cities. I'm not there as a practitioner, so that's really my job, is to really think about what will work in our community, in communities like this, the size of Wilsonville across our entire state. So where we don't have some of the resources and the big clinics and the big housing and all of those other things, what's going to work for our citizens here in our smaller communities. And then I think, as many of my colleagues here are, we will be attending the League of Oregon Cities meeting in Eugene at the end of next week, and so I'm looking forward to that. And that is my report.
Thank you for reminding us of that. We'll be there for 3 days, and a great chance to learn from other cities and leaders across the state. Councilor Berry.
Thank you. So on September 20th, I attended the Metro Clackamas County C4 subcommittee, and that subcommittee is an opportunity for the cities in Clackamas County to meet and discuss ideas that are important, including, it seems to be a big focus on transportation, tolling, housing, and it's an opportunity for us to discuss and prepare for the C4 meeting with Clackamas County, and that meeting is October 5th, where our mayor is our main representative, and I'm the alternative, and I'm planning to attend that. And I'm also looking forward to the League of Oregon Cities Conference next week. It will be fun to meet a lot of our neighboring representatives from nearby cities, and to learn from some of the seminars and take tours on housing and transportation in the library. So that'll be fun. Coming up for our community, the DEI Committee and the Wilsonville Library is presenting the Hispanic Heritage Month Family Movie Matinee. It's going to be October 14th at 3:30 p.m. in the library, the Oak Room. So I'm inviting everybody, well, not me, but the city is inviting everybody to attend, and I hope you mark your calendars for October 14th at 3:30. And another opportunity for our citizens is the Wilsonville Civics Academy. That's a program that started in 2015, and you can sign up. Hopefully there'll be room for you, depending on how many people sign up, but it's a program that lasts for about 9 months, I think. 7 months.
7 weeks.
7 months. And
7 weeks.
no,
Oh, it is
it's
months.
It's 7 months, and they meet once per month.
Once a month.
And part of the programs will be city leaders come and tell you what the different departments do and how the city operates. And then you also have opportunities to go visit the Coffee Creek Corrections Facility and the state capitol. I did that program in 2015. I really learned a lot and enjoyed it, and I recommend it to anybody who's interested in how the city of Wilsonville operates.
Thank you, Councilor Berry. And I'm just going to add two things that I forgot on my mayor's report. I'll start with what Councilor Linville brought up about the West to Salem, which is our West Side Express commuter rail that goes from Beaverton to Wilsonville. It is operated by TriMet. It has very limited hours. It only goes during the weekdays from, it has an early morning commute, a late afternoon commute, and that's it. It was originally conceived as a commuter rail to go to Salem, and that extension to Salem is now something that is really being discussed by Wilsonville. We introduced a bill on the subject in the last legislature, and it is just gaining a lot of support. I wanted to let all of the councilors know, and I think you have an invitation in your email. If not, I will get it to you again, that on October 25th at 3 p.m., our neighbors in Woodburn, actually the counties of Marion, Polk, and Yamhill, are having an open house about West to Salem, and it would be great to have some counselors go. I'm actually not able to go because I'm attending a biotech summit here at Twist Bioscience that day, which is going to be really just two very important things. So it's October 25th. It is hosted by the Mid-Willamette Valley Council of Governments. Be a great chance to learn about ways to advance the study of extending west to Salem for these commuting reasons that we talked about.
What time is that?
3 p.m.
Oh, 3
on the
p.m.
25th. And then the other one is giving credit where credit is due. We have been asking ODOT to get in front of our residents and citizens and talk about tolling, make it available to people. And in fact, they did that today. They came to the Wilsonville Public Library and had a tabling event for anyone to just come in and learn about tolling, the Oregon Toll Program. And they discussed the proposed tolling program on I-5 and I-205. They were there to answer questions and engage with community members. So appreciate that they came to Wilsonville and offered that. I was not able to go, but I have been to my share of tolling meetings. I think we all have. So we'll hear later about how that went. So that brings us, councilors, to our consent agenda, and if the city attorney would please read the agenda.
Resolution number 3024, a resolution of the City of Wilsonville supporting a 2023 grant application to the Oregon Parks and Recreation Department Land and Water Conservation Fund for the Memorial Park Playground Replacement Project. Resolution number 3079, a resolution of the City of Wilsonville supporting an agreement with the Oregon Department of Land Conservation and Development, DLCD, for a 2023-25 planning assistance grant for Phase 3 of Wilsonville's Housing Our Future project to fulfill housing capacity analysis and housing production strategy state requirements. Resolution number 3082, a resolution of the City of Wilsonville authorizing acquisition of property and property interests related to construction of the Willamette Water Supply Program right-of-way enhancement projects, and minutes of the September 18, 2023 City Council meeting.
Thank you. Council President Aukerball, may I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as read?
Yes, I move to approve the consent agenda as read.
Do I have a second?
Seconded.
Motion has been moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0. That brings us to continuing business, and we will start with ordinance number 881 on second reading.
This is the second reading of ordinance number 881, an ordinance of the City of Wilsonville adopting Wilsonville Code Sections 10.800 through 10.870 governing parking in city-owned parking lots.
Thank you. I will call to order the Wilsonville City Council second reading on ordinance number 881 as has been read. Does any member of the City Council have any questions for staff or the city attorney on ordinance number 881? We had detailed explanation of this in our packet and talked about it at the first hearing. Hearing no further questions, do I have a motion on ordinance number 881?
I move to adopt ordinance number 881 on second reading.
Do I have a second on that motion?
I'll second the motion.
Motion's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing no further discussion or commentary, I hereby ask the city recorder to make a roll call vote. Those in favor of adoption of the ordinance will, as their names are called, answer aye. Those opposed will answer no, and those who wish to abstain from the vote will answer abstain. The city recorder will now call the roll.
Counselor Berry?
Aye.
Counselor Linville?
Aye.
Council President Ockervall?
Aye.
Mayor Fitzgerald?
Aye.
And Counselor Dunwell is excused.
The motion passes 4-0. We will now address ordinance number 882 on second reading.
This is the second reading of ordinance number 882, an ordinance of the City of Wilsonville amending the text of the Development Code to clarify review processes and correct inconsistencies.
I will call to order the Wilsonville City Council second reading on ordinance number 882 as has been read. Does any member of the City Council have any questions for staff or the city attorney on ordinance number 882? Hearing no further questions or comments, do I have a motion on ordinance number 882? Council President Ockervall.
I move to adopt ordinance number 882 on second reading.
Do I have a second on that motion?
I second it.
It has been moved and seconded that we enact ordinance number 882. Is there any discussion? And we had a detailed write-up in our packet. We discussed it in the first hearing. Hearing no further discussion or commentary, I hereby ask the city recorder to make a roll call vote. Those in favor of adoption of the ordinance will, as their names are called, answer aye, and those opposed will answer no. Those who wish to abstain from the vote will answer abstain. The city recorder will now call the roll.
Counselor Berry?
Aye.
Counselor Linville?
Aye.
Council President Ockervall?
Aye.
Mayor Fitzgerald?
Aye.
And Counselor Dunwell is excused.
The motion passes 4-0. We now have a public hearing on resolution number 3084, which is a legislative hearing. If the city attorney will please read the resolution.
Resolution number 3084, a resolution of the City of Wilsonville authorizing a supplemental budget adjustment for fiscal year 2023-24.
Thank you. The order of procedure for tonight's hearing is set out in detail on our city code. In brief, we will start with a staff report. Next, the public will be asked to provide testimony. I will ask everyone who signed up in advance to testify first in the order in which they signed up. Then I will ask if anyone present in council chambers would like to testify. And then I will ask anyone who is on the Zoom meeting who has not testified but would like to testify to do so. For those in the audience, please fill out a speaker card and provide it to the city recorder. For those on Zoom, may I ask if we have anyone on Zoom? Seeing no one on Zoom, I'm not going to read those numbers, but they are on the screen. When you begin your testimony, please, and do we have anyone in council chambers wishing to testify? Therefore, I will not read the directions to them. Once the city council has heard from, since the city council has heard from everyone, we will, let me just skip that because we have no testimony. I am now going to open the public hearing, and Ms. Smith will provide the staff presentation. The hearing is now open.
Good evening. I'm Catherine Smith, the city's Assistant Finance Director. Before you this evening is a budget supplemental. Notice of this public hearing was published in the Wilsonville Spokesman on September 21st and September 28th. The total budget supplemental is for $12 million. The majority of this, as outlined in your council packet, is for the rollover of capital project funds in the amount of $8.4 million. The supplemental budget also includes $3.6 million in additional requests, including $1.2 million for the Meridian Creek culvert replacement and $1.5 million for the land acquisition at Frog Pond West Neighborhood Park. Additional supporting detail is included in the staff report within your council packet. And that concludes our presentation. If any questions, we do have staff with us tonight that are happy to help answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Does any counselor have any questions for staff at this time? And I just want to confirm that we do not have anyone here to give public testimony, nor do we have anyone on the phone or on Zoom. Since no testimony is forthcoming and there are no issues that warrant a, further discussion, I hereby declare this hearing closed. So, Council President Aukervall, do I have a motion on resolution number 3084?
I move to approve resolution number 3084.
Do I have a second?
I second, but I think it's adopt.
I will adopt. Thank you.
I'll second it with that correction.
It has been moved by Council President Aukervall and seconded by Councilor Linville that we adopt resolution number 3084. Is there any discussion? Hearing no further discussion or commentary, I will call for a vote on the motion. Those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The motion passes 4-0. That brings us to our city manager's business.
Thank you, Mayor. Two updates and a question for council. The second meeting in November falls on the same week as Thanksgiving. We have the ability to not have that meeting if that would be in council's interest. The only kind of caveat is that we have the solid waste ordinance that has to have 2 readings. So there's a way that we can do that, but by our charter, and according to our city attorney's interpretation, and I agree with, is that we have to have every member present to do 2 readings in the same night. And since that is a very non-controversial item, I wanted to offer that up to you as a solution to maybe not have a second meeting in November if you have family in town or if you have plans to go out of town. I will kick it over to you for discussion and direction to staff, and then I can give you updates on 2 other items.
So, just to clarify these expectations, if something were to come up and we could not get all 5 people there, illness or something, would we have a backup option?
The backup option, hopefully we would know soon. I mean, if an emergency happens, then that's something altogether different. But if we know in advance that all 5 of you will be there at the first meeting in November, that shouldn't be a problem. So the only member not here tonight is Councilor Dunwell. I haven't checked in with her, but I will reach out and ask her. I'm asking all of you, will you be at the first meeting in November?
Yes.
So that's 4/5. So
if still we plan ahead and something
Yes,
happens,
yes.
we could reconvene. Do we have a chance to go back and call that meeting?
we need 48 hours to notice the meeting. So as long as it didn't happen the night of the meeting, because if we don't have everybody here present for that meeting.
We still have to have the second meeting.
Still have to have the
And
second
what is
meeting.
the deadline on approving that?
So for to have a January 1 effective date, it needs to be approved in November because you have to have the 30 days for implementation. Worst case scenario is if we didn't have the second meeting in November and we couldn't do both readings on the first meeting of November, we could do the second reading in the first meeting of December, but that means it wouldn't go into effect until 30 days after. So it'd miss the January 1 date by a few days.
So we have options. We could also do a special meeting in November.
special meeting.
Yeah, if we need to. Yeah.
But we would know on November 6th if there was a problem, because November 6th is the date then
Yeah.
that we would do
Yes.
both of the
We have
readings.
lots of backup options.
Yeah.
And so
As long as we have everyone
if it all
here.
falls apart, it all falls apart on November 6th.
Yes,
And then,
correct.
right? And then at that point, we put the plan to meet on the 20th
Plan
into
B.
place, which would be plenty of time, because that's more than 48 hours.
Correct.
Right?
I'm hoping, I'm not certain yet, but I'm hoping to be out of town that week.
Which week?
Second
November
week in
6th.
November?
Not the 6th,
Okay.
the Thanksgiving week.
The 20th.
Yeah.
And this would, I think it's a nice opportunity to give staff a break too, and I have an opportunity to be out of town to visit my son. So it seems like it's worth pursuing, and there are backup options.
We'll reach out to Counselor Dunwell.
Thank you.
Okay. Two updates, opioid settlement funds. I did have a conversation with Counselor Linville, and I also touched bases with the mayor on some ideas. I got the distinct impression that this council is not interested in necessarily waiting to see what Clackamas County has to offer, but that you would rather us purpose those monies in a way that meets local community desires and wishes. So we're moving in that direction.
And just to confirm, we did discuss that at an earlier meeting.
Yes, and I felt like there was consensus
Yeah.
that you would rather us see what we can do locally.
Yeah.
So my thinking was that we could put together a working group, and if, with the mayor's blessing and the rest of council nodding approval, that Councilor Linville, because of her background and because she's on the governor's commission, she could be part of the staff team. Myself, the city attorney, we would reach out to the school district, to Heart of the City, and to Wilsonville Community Sharing, and see if we can generate some ideas, brainstorm some things to come back to council and present to you in terms of how we could use that money. If that sounds acceptable to council, we will move forward with that. Okay?
Fantastic.
And then on the MOB response, the Mediterranean oak borer response, we've had several internal meetings with staff. We had a big one last, I think it was Friday. The Public Works Director, Parks Director, Community Development Director, and myself. This is going to be, has the potential to be a big issue. There's a lot of logistical issues. There's permitting, there's communication, outreach, storage and disposal of this disease wood. I mean, the more you think about this, the
Really
more it just
horrible.
kind of boggles your mind. It could be a black hole from a budget standpoint. So we're trying to do all hands on deck with this. We have an internal group meeting, I think tomorrow or the next day, where we're going to drill down on a lot of these issues and start coming back to council with some ideas and recommendations. So there's just a lot to it, and so we want to be thoughtful about it and realistic in terms of what we can and can't do. But the big things are the immediate, how do we dispose of the trees that we know have this? There's some best practices and stuff that we're getting from California. Apparently it is something that does also attack red oaks, unfortunately. So I don't think any oak is going to be spared this. But there's also some good news in that if it appears that it doesn't attack healthy oaks, at least this is the preliminary information we're getting, that it's usually distressed trees that are getting this bug, and we do have some distressed trees, obviously, but that is a little bit of good news in that it's not attacking healthy oaks. It's the ones that have either been stressed because of something that happened in the winter or climate change, or like we think that's what happened to the oak on Kinsman, their progress, is that had some other issues going on. So there's a lot to this, a lot of information that will be coming back to you as we get closer to bringing you some recommendations.
And I was just going to add that for anyone listening, there is a detailed article on this on page 7 of the Boones Ferry Messenger to read all the more of the background.
Yes.
Yeah, and of course, I live in that Charbonneau community where there are 800 red oaks that line French Prairie, and so obviously that's of concern. But we also have another 110 on the golf course. So, and they are a variety of oaks and some that are maples, I think, too, but those are not conifers, I guess, and from what I understand. So, and they have, I think there's something else, they have some kind of an arrangement about taking trees down and permitting and something.
Well, all the trees that line French Prairie are the city's responsibility.
Right, I'm talking about those on the golf course.
Yeah.
They don't belong to an HOA. They are, so I don't know what the process is, but I do know that, trees come down, and I don't know whether they're permitted but it seems to me that one of the things as you have that discussion is that open space and the trees that are involved there really need to be we need to be sure that we are communicating with them so they understand what the issues and the concerns are, so that they don't just
Which is the same for all property owners across
right, and
Wilsonville
HOAs.
and the state of Oregon.
We had a pretty lengthy discussion about who all needs to be brought into the loop on this. Contractors, obviously, tree service companies, arborists that work in the community, all the HOAs. Charbonneau's a big one, obviously, so there's a lot of...
Individual homeowners who have a tree in the backyard.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and a number of citizens, I think, if I'm reading things correctly, is when they get an estimate, they aren't necessarily just looking at the Wilsonville arborists or tree service people. They get 2 or 3 estimates from companies that may be around in the city of Portland, so.
Well, thankfully, anybody that's doing business in Wilsonville has to have a business license, so we'll pay special attention to any
Great.
companies that, assuming they play by the rules and they get their business license.
Wouldn't you
We'll
think?
do everything we can to get the
Thank you.
message out.
And it's a statewide problem,
Yes.
and I know that something like 10 years ago, when I was working for the Nature Conservancy, and they have a big effort to study and preserve savanna oak habitat in Oregon, that Oregon only had something like 2% of its original white oak savanna habitat left.
Oh.
And so this is a very constrained natural resource. So I thank you, Brian, and your staff and I'm sure there will be a lot of you involved in this, for paying attention to this
Yeah.
and being creative.
Well, and diligent.
And
I
diligent.
appreciate
It's-
that.
So, well, I'll hope for the best there, and that brings us to legal business.
Nothing to report tonight, Mayor.
Thank you. Our meeting is adjourned at 7:57 PM.
Good job, Mayor.
Because I didn't read the...